And some again, started all over again, until somebody came with some neck beads and started putting neck beads on us. And then the name started getting called out again, Jeff 2, Paul 1, somebody else, whatever it was. And they got their names, their beads, and like that. Went sat down again for the yajna, which had not yet taken place. And then, of course, we had the same thing that everyone said, 4 eggs and so on. And then, somehow or another, my name never got called out at all. It called out on the first occasion, but that was it, finished. Everything was finished. Could you probably say something? That is all. Yes, bro, that's finished. So I was sat there wondering what was going on. Because I had no name, I had no beat, nothing. As you said, you said no name.
Yeah.
I think she had no name. I think this is not working.
Yeah, it's the cable.
Huh?
It's the cable.
It's the cable. What should I do with it?
The connection is bad. Try to put it in certain position.
Huh? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to pull it. Easy one. Hare Krishna. Secret. So I sat there, I didn't know what to do. I was just like completely bewildered. I mean, it was like, and the yajna, Prabhupada started doing the fire yajna. I just sat there like a dummy. I didn't know whether I was supposed to throw the grains or what to do. I just didn't know. You just sat on this in front of like maybe 10,000 people on this stone platform, and nobody else is noticing what's going on. There's so many things happening. Nobody noticed I did or didn't get my name. And I sat there and I thought, what to do? And I was throwing the grains in the fire, and I didn't know what. I didn't know whether I should or shouldn't. I was too, bewildered. And I couldn't kind of sneak out on the stage. And it wasn't sort of thing you could bury yourself in. It was a solid stone. So I was sat there thinking, thoughts were, it's something amazing actually. I was thinking that, Krishna's the supreme God, and he knows you are not qualified. Simple as that. You're not qualified. But I was too proud and too kind of like nervy to get up and honestly just kind of like go and take my place in the crowd or something. And I just sat there and went through the whole thing and, whatever else goes on there. And then that was it, Prabhupada got up, ready to leave with Bhujumna and the driver to go back to Bury Place. And my head was kind of spinning, you could say. And everyone else was there, and Janananda is coming up asking the devotees, because he was somewhere else busy doing things. He said, so what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Asking all the devotees, what's your name? Partha. What's your name? Oh, Vichitravirya. Oh, what's your name? Like that, different names he was asking of the devotees. Vijay Kumar, and so on and so forth. And then he came up to me and said, what's your name? And I said, Jeff. He said, no. What's your new name? I said, I don't have one. I said, what? I don't have one. I said, what do you mean you don't have one? He said, you're supposed to be initiated. I said, well, I don't know. I don't have one. So just as Prabhupada was going in the car, and Bhujumna was going in the car, Janananda ran over to Bhujumna and said, what happened? This boy is supposed to be initiated. And Bhujumna said, no, all the beads, everything's been given. I've got no beads left. He had this, Bhujumna, those days was really amazing. He had this unique name, he was a very special person, always is. And he had this bag. He probably had it when he was a hippie. It was like, so torn and tatty. And his bead bag was the same. And it was kind of funny. And he had this bag where he kept all the beads, and the name was on a piece of paper tagged to the beads, Probably you saw the same, I don't know if they're the same thing or not. And he said, there's nothing left in my bag. All the beads are gone. So, what's going on? I said, see? And he went in his bag, said, the bag's completely empty, see? And out came the beads. There it was. One set of beads left.
Translation is difficult.
Sorry, the sound is a bit low. And,
Maybe we...
I'll take this down. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
What was the last thing you heard?
Huh? You didn't hear anything. What to do? Okay. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay. So Prajumna Prabhu said there's no beads left. He had this old bag. We was keeping the beads in and pulling them out one by one, like that, giving them to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was handing them to the devotees. So he said, there's no beads left. Then he said, look, I'll see my bag's empty. And he put his hand in his bag and he pulled out, there's one set left.
Haribol.
And so then, I don't know what happened then, he then talked to Prabhupada and told him what had happened. And then he talked to Dhananjaya, Bhujumna talked to Dhananjaya, and Dhananjaya then told me what to do. And he said, Prabhupada said you have to go back to Bury Place now. Because the festival was carrying on. They were going to have kirtan and maybe drama, I never saw it. And, whatever, maybe another lecture, I don't know. But he said you have to go back now, immediately, to Bury Place, which is about 2 kilometers from Trafalgar Square. So Prabhupada got in the car and they drove back to Bury Place, and I ran back to Bury Place. And I got back there and I was so nervous. And there was only maybe 2, 3 devotees in the temple at the time. And I was sitting outside of Prabhupada's room on the first floor, waiting, and very nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought, Prabhupada is now going to tell me, go away. You're not fit for this movement. I had all sorts of thoughts were going in my mind. And there was one devotee there, his name was Mukta Sangha. I don't know if you ever remember Mukta Sangha. And he was, as you were mentioning about Kishori, but I'd never seen another Mukta Sangha in our movement either. He's a unique character. He used to go on the street and, on his own, generally, because you couldn't really go on Hari now with Mukta Sangha. It was like, he had a voice like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And if you're leaving kirtan, it just like threw you off, you know. So he would go on his own quite often. And when we were saying Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, he couldn't pick it up. He thought, he said, you're not your body, your spirit, soul, he was saying. He was an interesting character. And as I said, he was sat there for some reason, where he wasn't, I don't know why, but he was there. And he asked me, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And actually his reason was, he was hoping that, he knew that Prabhupada was going to take prasadam, and he knew no one else was there. And he knew that there would be remnants, and he had a good chance of getting those remnants. That was his reason for going back. But he was, so I was sat there very, very nervous, sort of shaking. Then Pradyumna came out and said, okay, you can come in now. And I just didn't know. And then Pradyumna just said, and I said, are you coming in? He said, no. I had to go in on my own into Prabhupada's room. And I stood there, paid my obeisances. And Prabhupada said, pay your obeisances properly. And he said, both hands on the floor. I had to do it properly. And I sat there, and I can't say nervous. I would say by this time I was just, whatever happened, I just kind of accepted. And Prabhupada then said, so, what are the 4 regulated principles? Somehow or another I managed to say them. And how many rounds? And usual. And then he said, your name is? And he gave me the beads. The same beads that, were partly made of dough and partly made of wood. Prabhupada chanted on them. Didn't, what is this? What type of beads? Imagine if if somebody gave beads like that for initiation. What is this? Get some proper beads, please. They had no knots in between. They were actually some Buddhists. One of my old LSD friends gave me these Buddhist beads, and there was only 100, and not even that. I think some of them had lost. Less than 100 on there, and I filled them up with dough balls, and they're just like loose on a piece of string, going back and forward like this. And there's a bit of paper stuck on it, and it said, your name is Janananda Das. He said, that means, and this is the interesting thing, because I don't think Prabhupada wrote that, but that was Pradyumna who wrote the name. But he said, that means one who gives Ananda to the Janas, to the people, one who gives bliss to the people. So he gave me those beads, and the spelling was had to be adjusted, but I adjusted it later on. But he gave me those beads, and I took the beads. I didn't say anything. I was silent, other than answering the questions. I didn't know what to say. And I bowed down with the beads in my hand, and Prabhupada said, pay your obeisances properly. Put the beads on the table. So I put the beads on the table and paid my obeisances properly, with both hands on the floor. And then he looked at me and he opened up a tin. He had this kind of tipping on his table. And he took out a big, simply wonderful bead. And he said, here, take this. He knew what I really came in here for. I was more interested in the simply wonderful than the beads. They were not very digestible. And he gave me the simply wonderful. I held the simply wonderful in my hand and paid my obeisances. He said, offer your obeisances properly. Put the simply wonderful on the table. 3 times. And that's the maximum, as you know. You can't say it more than 3 times. So I survived, and I went out with the beads on my neck, no bead backs. It was simply wonderful. And
your name, and your
and
name.
and the name. And I got out, and there was Muktinanda outside, and he said, what happened? What happened? Did Prabhupada give you any prasadam?
Oh,
And because he'd been initiated, he was an old devotee, he'd been in the movement 2 months more than me. He was really older, And he was very kind. He let me have a little bit of it anyway. I got a little bit of the simply wonderful. Hare Krishna. So this is how we got a name. Those beads, by the way, 2 days later were lost.
yeah.
Huh? You had something like that? No.
Me too.
Interesting. I went in Bury Place temple. You may think, oh, it's so austere in the temple these days. But you were there. Maybe you weren't there then, but you know what Bury Place was like. There was one toilet, maybe halfway up the stairs. On the stairs, as you go up these tiny narrow stairs, there was a toilet, and that was the toilet. We had no toilet in the Brahmachari ashram at all. That was the toilet. It was unique. I could go on and on stories of that toilet. But this one, I went to the toilet, and there was a little peg outside where you put your beads when you went in the toilet. So I put them on this peg, went to toilet, and came out, and they weren't there anymore. They were gone. I never saw them again. I think somebody got too hungry, and they must have eaten the beads or something.
The door.
They just disappeared. But those days we used to give our beads, even initiation beads. We would, if a guest came, you had to give your beads to them to chant on.
Oh.
You had to chant on your fingers. If any guest came in the temple, you had to give them the beads, show them how to chant on the beads, and then chant on your fingers next to them. It was